Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in KITZUR, HILCHOS, SHABBOS, the laws of Boirer. And he writes like this, so too, just like we spoke yesterday about the fatty meat, you cut aside some of the fat together, with some of the meat together with the fat, and you did not transgress Boirer. Let's say you have a cluster of grapes, Nirkov, and you have in between that cluster, there is one spoiled grape that you don't want. You cannot just remove the spoiled grape because that would be the prohibition of Boirer. So what could you do? You could take a smaller cluster from the larger cluster that has the grape that is spoiled within it. So you're taking good grapes and the spoiled grape together. Now, even though that you've just cleaned up the entire cluster over here, because now you don't have to worry about having this spoiled grape, you just separated from the food, basically, and therefore that's not called Boirer, as we mentioned yesterday. As long as I'm taking the good together with the bad, that's not called separating. We find that you need two conditions over here to either do Boirer or prevent Boirer. Aleph, number one, you have to do the intended purpose of separation. Through your separating, you're fixing up the food. So you're getting rid of the psilis, you're getting rid of that which you don't want. And therefore, and therefore, if you separate it in such a way that even after the separation, the food and the psilis, that which you don't want, are still together, it's not called Boirer, and that would be mutter. Like we said, you take the cluster of the grapes, the good grapes, and the one bad grape that is with it. That means that the eichel and the psilis, the food and that which you don't want, is still all together as one. That's not Boirer. And added on to this, secondly, you also need that the action of Boirer, you have to be separating between the food and the psilis, that which you don't want. If you separate in the place where the food is, or where the psilis, that which you don't want, is, even though this is preparing and fixing up the food, that now you'll be able to eat it, since you didn't actually do the activity of Boirer, the name Boirer is not upon there, and therefore it's going to be mutter, it's going to be permissible. It's like you cut the food into two parts. Or you cut the psilis, that which you don't want, into two parts. So if I have the food and I have the psilis attached to each other, so even if I'm cutting the good and I'm leaving some of the good on the other side together with the bad, says the KITZUR over here, that's like cutting food into two parts. That's like cutting psilis into two parts. That's not separating the good from the bad or the bad from the good, because I'm separating good from good or bad from bad. And therefore that's not going to be Boirer. This only works when you can clearly recognize the two distinct items that you have. For example, a piece of meat that has the fat on it, or the fat that's congealed or resting on the top of the soup, two separate things. But things that cannot be recognized clearly, each thing by itself, they are mixed in together, literally mixed in together. That is all considered to be a mixture. And even if you separate in the place where there is the food, that would be considered separating the food from the bad, but usher, that will be usher. So when you have a real live mixture where the things are together and you cannot discern their separate status, so then removing one from the other, that for sure is going to be the issur, the prohibition of bayra, like the bowl of nuts. You have peanuts and cashews and raisins and chocolate chips that are all in there, your trail mix, and you only really want one thing and you don't want the other. So that's a real live mixture over there. There's nothing connected to each other. You can remove good and the bad, and that would be an issue of bayra. We'll have to see as we go along how we're going to be able to eat the nuts that we want to, how we can separate the fruit salad that we want to, and many other things that will come up as we go through the laws of bayra together. All the best.